It's great to share the stage with my former boss. This is a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be friends with a former boss.
Well, great friends. Yeah.
Touche. So Duncan, I had a good experience with you today. I got to sit through your very first upfront, coincidentally. This is a week that Terry has always had DMS happen during the upfronts. And I know your opinion of it, but it's interesting as we talk about the topics we're going to touch this afternoon: digital commerce, retail media. There doesn't seem to be a shortage of demand in those areas, like I think our friends in the TV and linear TV business are going to find out this week. And you're in a moment in time where digital commerce, retail media is at a fever pitch. And I think there's an interesting transition in the market. And something many of us know in this room: buying scale at media was once a source for strength for enterprise brands, but digital marketplaces kind of value selection over scale. How would you address that when you think of the fact that if you look back, and I think John Haley just spoke a moment ago before David, I think the number was something like 53 advertisers in the most recent Super Bowl versus roughly 10 million advertisers at a place like Meta. Just take that and run with it.
Yeah, okay, well, so it was interesting to be at the upfront. I think the reality is what we were seeing there is the classic Bezos, line of their margin is my opportunity, and I think that's what you're seeing sort of happen, where they're trying to come further and further and eat more and more into the funnel. And look, the capability that Amazon is producing is going to be game changing, and there's no two ways about it. I think if you're a brand, the counter to that and the issue with the marketplaces is, marketplaces are driven by breadth of selection. They monetize through, they obviously make good profits through advertising, but at the end of the day, they need you to stay on that platform, and they need you to keep coming to that platform, because their single biggest sort of business expense is winning consumers and keeping them on the platform. And that's why Prime and all the other positions. So, at the end of the day, for a major brand, if we wound back before marketplaces, they just had to get a decent amount of the shelf and a decent proportion of it to get their market share and then drive marketing. Those days have long since gone. Very few people have any idea how many products list on Amazon, but today, if you went on to just Amazon.com in the US, there's about 870 million products listed on Amazon. And so now you're competing in an endless environment where your brands, and you've got to stand out, but buying media isn't just the answer. Now you have to have, a complete retail solution, which includes the combination of media for a consumer, where every aspect of that journey, that relationship, that value is all taken into account as to whether you sit in number 1, 2, or 3 slot on that page. It's not as simple as, if I spend money, I get to win. Those days have gone. So the marketplace is definitely getting much more sophisticated, and Amazon, of course, are leading the way in demonstrating how they can monetize not just that massive reach, but that massive first-party data pool that they've got.
Well, speaking of the first-party data, retailers know that their first-party data is valuable, but they're kind of giving it away. I mean, does that seem to make sense when you've got something that's so valuable, giving it away in some fashion? I mean, people are generating gigantic revenue, but the brands are kind of giving it away.
Yeah, look, I think the retailers and the platforms and anyone who's trying to become the marketplace and media platform of choice and customer of choice, they're all competing very hard. They're competing very hard to sustain that position, and the currency that they can trade is intelligence to make a partner or a brand more intelligent in the way they operate on their platform. So that's their sort of currency of measure. And so if you've got an 800-pound gorilla in the marketplace, which at the end of the day, Amazon is, Walmart and others are running hard, but if you look at, and then you've got the sort of next tier coming up fast, like Uber and others who have got a different proposition, a very different value proposition. But at the end of the day, the one thing that they've got to sort of empower a brand who ultimately gives them a lot of the capital through media, et cetera, to be a winner, and obviously gives them the products, because it's that combination selection of media that's the winning factor. At the end of the day, for them, they've got to differentiate. And the way they differentiate is they empower with more information. So in AMS today, I don't have to guess at any moment whether the media I have spent on behalf of a client promoting their brands within the Amazon ecosystem because of Amazon Marketing Cloud, I know exactly what the cost of that acquisition was. I know exactly whether that acquisition was quality. I know whether they repeat and purchase. I know whether they cross-sell and upsell and buy. So you're away from that whole world of guessing, did I spend that money wisely and did it get me results? We're past that, long since past that. Amazon has taken us past that in the last 18 months. So now it is a world where they are able to give. Now, if you're Walmart and you want that share of that, what are you going to do? You're going to have to give them that same currency information. And so, and that's the difference that the marketplaces have compared to any other form of media that can't give deterministic outcome, is that it's a guess whether it gave it that. The marketplaces don't guess. They know exactly whether it
the attribution isn't as difficult, obviously. But Duncan, having been there when you created Flywheel, I mean, when you bought it at Essential and built on top of it, I remember thinking, dumbing it down for me, what the strength was, and I don't mean this in a pejorative sense at all, figuring out how to game the system on behalf of the retail, on behalf of the brands. And again, game the system doesn't have to be pejorative. It's figuring out the advantage. And I think that's what you did, and you're kind of talking about that now. It's not the size of the buy, it's the intelligence. Talk about that, because that was really the secret sauce.
Yeah, no, the reality is, the simplest way to think about it a different way is, because as you know, a lot of my background's actually in building financial services systems, not retail systems, is that Amazon is a marketplace just like the NYSE is, or just like NASDAQ is. It's tradable. It moves constantly. You can push it, derive it. There are many factors in there. And at the end of the day, if you're a brand, all you're doing is you're not listing stocks. You're listing what Amazon calls ASINs, or what everyone else in the industry will call a SKU, and you're then managing that individual product. And you can derive actions around that individual product to push it to different outcomes. And that's because it's a marketplace and others are competing with you to do exactly the same. And so our job was to take, you're no longer, if you think about the traditional media world, you're worried about buying categories or segments or words that people would search to that would be quite broad and generic, and that would send you to a whole segment of stuff where hopefully they'd then buy one of the many products that you sold. Marketplaces don't work like that. Every single ASIN or every single product, every single trade has to be individually managed for that product. And so the scale and size of what the platforms have to do and the opportunities, all we did in building, I say all we did, as you know, it was quite a lot, in building the Flywheel platform, was effectively we've deployed a lot of high performance, real time, hedge fund style trading capabilities into a real time system. I mean, just to give you a sense, we're one of the few companies in the world that takes the real-time feed out of just, say, Amazon. We can take it from other marketplaces around the world. We trade with AT, we trade with the China platforms, and they're even greater scale in some ways than Amazon. But just to take Amazon, just to give you a sense of it, we take about 140 terabytes of real-time trading data a day. That's how much we have to ingest real-time and process on behalf of our clients. That's what the infrastructure you require. If you don't have that infrastructure, you are always then behind the clock on what it's doing. And so that's what we focused on, was how could we build something that could get down to the atomic level of a single product, but manage for hundreds of conditions and optimize for our clients to win in a world where, in that untouchables line, we don't want our client turning up to a gunfight with a knife.
Yeah, no, it's true, and you've armed them with a bazooka in some ways, and that's proven. And to Terry's point, I think the biggest deal of the year, in our industry, or I guess you closed this year, but done last year, there's a reason for it. Duncan, I've been matching words and modifying the word commerce for the last year and a half, and I've modified it consistently with the word content. We're talking here about media and data and the intelligence that you're using. Think about the shoppable video side, the content commerce marriage. Where do you see that as, because I think, again, you don't hear the word commerce very often, not modified by the word content now.
Yeah, look, I think the reality is that every single element of experience that you deliver to a consumer at any form of that journey through the full funnel is ultimately coming out with an outcome that may or may not result in a purchase. And, all the various ecosystems that are enabling that, ultimately that's now the game. How are you ensuring, that every single time you influence a consumer, that is synchronized, that is in sync, it's not cutting across each other, because ultimately it is driving to a commerce outcome of some description. And of course, as you heard yourself, Michael, today at the upfront of Amazon, that's also not necessarily a commerce outcome that happens on Amazon. I mean, reality is now we're able to do this for car manufacturers. We're able to do this, anyone, whether they're selling on the platform or not, you can get a high proportion of the signal set if you're able to basically upload your customer data, and then you can see, so you're getting that same power. So that's the sort of bar that they've set, and everyone else in the industry is now chasing it. The more exciting, if I look at other more exciting platforms that are heading in that direction, TikTok would be another one that is definitely aligned and thinking about how does it drive that engagement with consumers at mass scale, but absolutely can channel that to an outcome that they know works for a brand.
So, Duncan, I think it was 3 years ago when Amazon broke out their numbers, and that first number I think we saw was like $31 billion. And everybody, at least I shouldn't say everybody, but I was very surprised, because in my own mind I had thought probably a $10 billion number. And we didn't know. Now that number's north of 40, and the growth in retail media is astounding. There are multiple billion-dollar players now in retail media. I think the number I heard recently from Walmart was $4 billion, and even at Walmart, that starts to become something you pay attention to when it's got a B in front of it. How are you advising brands to kind of allocate? Everybody's in there, everybody's in the business. As I said, there's no shortage of money chasing retail media now, and brands have to look at that no different than they do the allocation of media choices amongst verticals or competitors.
Yeah, look, I think it just gets more and more complicated, Michael, is the answer. And the reality is that, but at the same time, it comes back to basic principles, which is, they're driving that activity to ultimately get a consumer to come to a location and buy the product. And consumers will buy all kinds of variations of products from very different distribution sources and outcomes that suit their lifestyle or suit their need or suit the price they want to pay or whatever. And, even though we focused a lot on Amazon, there is a lot of choice in the market. And ultimately, the way that brands, or we will help our brands think about that, is how they're really focusing on the fundamental measures of their business rather than, what have been more traditional sort of flattering metrics, but don't actually hard result in a business outcome for them. And I think the answer to that is, what is, when we run that campaign, how many net new customers do we really create into that channel or into that business through that campaign that have not bought the product before? How many are then actually continuing to purchase that product and repeat buy? How many churn? How many then buy other products that we can then cross-promote to that? And what's the effectively scale and return on that long lifetime value? Sets principles that everyone has, since one-to-one marketing was created 30 years ago, but now can genuinely be deployed at scale. And, if you look at, for certain category types, Amazon is a killer. For certain category types, Walmart, Kroger, Target will be killers. And it's not a one-size-fits-all model. It's about understanding every single product. That bottle of water, why is that performing? Across many, many hundreds of dimensions, to which you're then optimizing that over many, many different channels. And that's the game now. That's what we built our platform to be able to do is mass channel optimization across many, many sources, where for that particular product in that particular situation in that part of the country, that is the most optimum way to get your maximum return on investment to value.
Are the brands getting a dashboard that gives them this visibility? Because you said something at the beginning. This is something that will drive an outcome. Attribution becomes an issue. Here you can have pretty clear attribution. I mean, the brands have to be thrilled with that kind of ability to see the result, to get the transparency. Another word I try to use a lot, the transparency around what they've actually bought and the results that are actually being rendered as a result of it.
Yeah, look, our clients can see in real time every day the performance of their products by category, by area, by every distribution point they're in that market. And they know exactly what their deployment is, whether that's working for them that afternoon or not working for them instantly, what their returns are, whether that's really driving good value or not. And then obviously we can give that to them over a longitudinal direction. Now we get more and more accurate the higher the quality of the underlying platform. Unfortunately, whether people like it or not, the absolute market leader today is Amazon. We can look at multi-year longitudinal relationships with individuals and see what all that effect has done. But we can also get much of that, we can get many signal sets for the others. So yeah, I mean, if you're a client using our platform today, you're looking at real time, what is working for you, what isn't. Is that sort of a short-term challenge, a long-term challenge? It's all there, visible by multi-channel. We can, we've been delivering that for a little while, actually, Michael.
Duncan, as we get close to the end, and we could talk about this forever, but we're going to run out of time, unfortunately. I have to ask the question. You're about 6 months into being part of a holding company. For so many years, the holding companies were people who you dealt with on the other side of the fence, owning Cannes Lions. What's it like to be inside of a holding company?
Yeah, look, it's a question I get asked a lot, and you definitely haven't given me a loaded question, but many people ask it as a loaded question. Look, I have to say I can't judge what it's like across the board, but what I can tell you is within Omnicom, it's been a fantastic experience to date. They were very clear-eyed buyers of the business. They understood exactly what we needed to come in and do. We had clear objectives. They had clear objectives. We said we had to be 100% integrated into Omnicom, so the Omni platform, so we could go full funnel visibility within 90 days of the acquisition, and we did that. And so, we're not guessing on this stuff now. We know it for real, right? We've got hard facts. We know the data. We're now, we're looking forward to Cannes because we're going to bring out some really great case studies there that demonstrate the power of all the way through deterministic outcomes that we're running with a number of key clients. So, yeah, no, for us, there's been nothing negative to be part of Omnicom. In fact, we're very proud to be part of Omnicom.
And it should be interesting for you to visit Cannes as a patron, not as a CEO.
Yeah, I actually get to go and look forward to it this year. Yeah.
Those badges, they're very expensive, They're
Yeah, no, and there's no discounts even for, even yes, for our friends of the family.
Yes, I found that out.
Yeah.
Touche again. Duncan, it's so much fun for me, and I mean that, to celebrate the success you've had with this, because having been there at the beginning, and people thought you were a little, daft to double down as you did, but it certainly has turned out. And I guess the right answer is it's been a wonderful experience for you, and I guess more importantly, what you're doing has become so important in the marketplace that it really integrates you in a different way into the overall system of the industry. So, you know, it's good that you had a little experience on the other end. Now you get to be on this side.
Yeah, no, look, Michael, thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to share the stage with you today. We've always shared a great relationship, and you've been such a great partner, you know, when you were part of the Essential, post-Essential, through life. So, you know, certainly it's been a pleasure for me to be here. And look, you know, there was no doubt for about 5 years, you know, I used to say to people, if anyone's watched the movie The Big Short, you know, we felt like the people in the characters in The Big Short. You know, we were the ones that were going down this road where we could see very, very clearly how the world was going to go. But for a long time, we seemed to be the only people who had that position or clarity. And so, you know, good for us. It turned out we were right.
It turned out you were right. Duncan Painter, I want to thank you. I appreciate you making the time, and it's great to share the stage.
Michael, lovely seeing you.